Okay, so how did a post-apocalyptic game about fresh water and mutants go from this
I think you're the only hope we have.
to this?
The game was rigged from the start.
The Fallout games give players a ton of options for how they can get things done. You can follow the good path and get the good ending, you can lie or sweet talk your way through things, or you can literally just run and gun through every roach and rascal you come across. For this summary, I'll just go ahead and assume that you're not evil, also going to assume that you aren't running through the games growling at everybody with an intelligence of 1.
What have you got to say for yourself?
Although, that is a valid and hilarious way to play. The protagonists of each Fallout game might be different, but there is one thing that never changes: war.
It's that war. War never changes.
So let's leave the comfort of our vault and wander out into the great nuclear wasteland of the Fallout series. Let's go! The first Fallout game's full title was Fallout, a post-nuclear role-playing game. This basically tells you everything you need to know about the setup, and also how outdated it looks today. I mean, don't get me wrong, the visual style is unique and specific, but for those of you who actually have tried playing this recently, it's kinda grueling to get through. Fallout was developed by Interplay and introduced a world destroyed by a nuclear war.
War never changes.
It takes place 84 years after the devastating Great War of 2077 between the United States and China. The war only lasted about 2 hours, but it wiped out the United States government and all of society. You play as the Vault Dweller, a young American who was born and raised inside a nuclear fallout shelter known as Vault 13. The Vault Dweller's home is in danger. Its only water chip is broken, which means they can't recycle or purify their drinking water. Without drinking water, the days of Vault 13 are coming to an end.
You're here. Good. We've got a problem. A big one.
The Vault Dweller is sent outside to find a replacement water chip within 150 days, or everything they know and love will die of dehydration. No pressure, though. So the journey into the world of Fallout begins. The outside world is pretty dangerous. It's a very unfriendly place. The Vault Dweller wanders through a post-apocalyptic Southern California, making friends, but mostly enemies, along the way. In the aftermath of the Great War, the desert wastelands of the United States have become home to various settlements, warring factions, cutthroat outlaws, and killer robots.
Look, just be safe. Okay?
The wasteland is overrun by mutated animals and humans affected by the radiation, like rad roaches and rad scorpions. It's also home to one of the franchise's most feared enemies, the 20-foot-tall demonic Deathclaw. Even the air is a threat for the Vault Dweller, thanks to dangerously high levels of radiation left behind by the war. The first Fallout game introduces some elements that have become iconic parts of the series. This is our first time seeing a Pip-Boy, which is a device the Dweller wears on their wrist, and it tracks their stats, their map, their journal, and other useful data. Basically, it's like a retro-punk smartwatch. We also meet Dogmeat, the German Shepherd that appears in some of the future games as the protagonist's loyal companion. The first game also sets up the Vault Tech-Assisted Targeting System, aka VATS, a specialized combat system that lets players aim for specific spots on their enemy's body for varying success rates and damage outputs. The Vault Dweller eventually finds the water chip in another vault and returns to save their home, but by then, they have bigger problems to deal with. A mutant called the Master has developed a virus that's turning humans into super mutants, huge, freakishly strong soldiers. The Master believes this is the next step in human evolution and the only way to unify humanity. Basically, some mad scientist stuff. The Vault Dweller gets the help of an organization calling themselves the Brotherhood of Steel. The group is a mix of thinkers and fighters dedicated to regulating modern technology. Their goal is to prevent another disaster like the nukes from ever happening again by safeguarding tech that humans could use to harm each other. In other words, they're not letting toddlers run with scissors. Except the toddlers are all human beings and the scissors are nuclear weapons. Man, if only we had checks and balances like that in America. With the help of the Brotherhood of Steel, the Vault Dweller defeats the Master. They save humanity and get to not go home as a reward. See, if they return home, everyone else in Vault 13 would see that it's not so bad out there, and they would all want to leave. And so, the Vault Dweller heads out into exile. Fallout 2 starts about 80 years after the end of the previous game.
War never changes.
This time, we follow the story of the Chosen One, a descendant of the Vault Dweller from the first game. The Vault Dweller went on to be the founder of the village of Arroyo in Northern California, which is where the story of Fallout 2 begins.
There he founded a small village, Arroyo. where he lived out the rest of his years.
Once again, the main character's home is at risk of dehydration, this time because of a horrible drought, and once again, they're sent out to get an item that will save the town. Instead of a water chip, the Chosen One is told to travel back to Vault 13 to retrieve a Garden of Eden creation kit, simply known as a GAC. This device can turn even the most hostile desert land into a fertile ground for growing crops. A lot has changed over the past 80 years. The Vault Dweller's adventures and Vault of Origin have turned into mythical legends, hence the cryptic title of The Chosen One.
Do you hear me? The village dies.
The political and social landscape has been reshaped too. The Chosen One crosses paths with an emerging new government that's trying to rebuild the United States, an addictive new drug that's spreading like wildfire among the people, and a mysterious and technologically advanced organization called the Enclave. When the Chosen One finally makes it to Vault 13, they discover that the Enclave has captured all of its dwellers. The organization is using the unfortunate people as test subjects in its plan to, you guessed it, become the ultimate superior race. Vault 13 was never supposed to be opened. The vault only opened its doors to allow the Vault Dweller to leave for the water chip. The people inside remain the purest versions of humanity. They never came into contact with the radiation outside the vault's reinforced walls. In other words, the motivation of the Enclave in Fallout 2 is the exact opposite of the Master in the first game. The Enclave wants to use the untainted people of Vault 13 to repopulate and rule the United States. To do this, the Enclave plans to unleash a modified virus onto the world that will kill off any living being that's been mutated by radiation. Basically, commit genocide. The Chosen One frees the residents of Vault 13. They also take down the Enclave headquarters, preventing them from carrying out their plan in the future. And thanks to the GAC, their home village of Arroyo is saved from certain doom. Wow, the wasteland's pretty easy actually. Come on, give me a challenge. What's next? Fallout 3 took a huge leap from the classic games. It was the first game to bring the series into an open world format. It was also the first game to be led by Bethesda, who took over the series from Interplay. The Pip-Boy, Dogmeat, and iconic Nuka-Cola drink all make an appearance in Fallout 3, making it still feel very much like a Fallout game. But the story and world are grander and more involved than ever before. Fallout 3 introduces a new main character called the Lone Wanderer. Main characters in Fallout games can be customized by the player, so this character can have literally any name. Just to make things simple, we'll make the Lone Wanderer male, and we'll just call him Lone. Fallout 3 leaves the western deserts of California and lands right in the ruins of the former capital of the United States of America, Washington, D.C. Lone's father, James, is a doctor and a scientist. He's also Liam Neeson. Seriously. He's voice acted by Liam Neeson. Lone's mother dies during childbirth, and he grows up with his father in the secluded Vault 101.
You were born. It is here you will die.
Lone lives your standard Vault life, never leaving the comfort of his home. But when he turns 19 years old, his father leaves the Vault for mysterious reasons. This is a pretty big deal, because the leader of Vault 101, Alphonse Almodovar, really wants to keep those Vault doors shut tight from outside corruption. When James leaves the Vault, he leaves a huge mess behind. The paranoid Alphonse has his guards beat James's friend to death and shoot anybody found outside their rooms.
My God, they killed him. They just beat him and wouldn't stop.
The open vault door also lets in vicious mutated rad roaches. Ugh. Being James's son puts a huge target on Lone's back, so before he can be taken out by Alphonse II, Lone runs away from Vault 101. His goal? To track down his father. At least he's not looking for a random techno doodad this time. Outside the vault, Lone finds himself in the town of Megaton. It's kind of a funny coincidence. Is that the name of the atomic bomb? Yep. The huge town is built around an unexploded Megaton-class atomic bomb. Don't worry though, the bomb's perfectly safe, so they say. The town of Megaton is actually made of people who were rejected from Vault 101 by Alphonse. Over time, the town has become a magnet for anybody who needs shelter. It's also a home for a bunch of weirdos who worship the bomb like it's some sort of god.
Please, child, come to the church anytime at all.
Lone asks around Megaton for information about his father. This leads him to the owner of the local watering hole, Colin Moriarty.
I saw him talking to Moriarty. It's hard to forget handsome men like that.
Lone finds Moriarty in the corner of his saloon, sitting way too close to a screen. Didn't your parents ever tell you you're gonna damage your eyesight like that?
Colin Moriarty, at your service.
Moriarty did see James, but it's even more than that. He knows Lone.
My God, it's you. The little baby boy all grown up.
James had told Lone that he was born in Vault 101, but Moriarty claims this is actually a lie. In a rare moment, Alphonse had opened the doors to the vault for James and his newborn. Before James found the vault, He'd stopped by Moriarty's saloon with a newborn baby and a Brotherhood of Steel friend. Remember them from Fallout 1? Moriarty knows where James went after Megaton, but he's a businessman, and information isn't cheap. Lone can either pay Moriarty for the info, exchange it for a favor, or just steal the information from his computer. However Lone gets it, the info points him to his next destination, Galaxy News Radio, the ruins of an old radio station. Galaxy News Radio is located out in the wastelands beyond Megaton. The station is kept alive by a guy with a slick voice called Three Dog.
I am Three Dog, jockey of discs and teller of truths.
Three Dog keeps Galaxy News Radio running 24/7. He fights the good fight against any oppressors by broadcasting truth in current events. James has already been to speak with Three Dog, and yes, Three Dog knows where Lone's father went. But even the good guys in this game don't just give information willy-nilly. Three Dog has a problem, and Lone might just be able to get him the solution. One of the radio broadcast satellite dishes has been shot up by a super mutant.
Of course, the factory that made the relay dishes is long gone, leveled.
This severely limits how far Galaxy News Radio can reach across the wasteland. The only way to repair it is to find a replacement part. But these parts aren't made anymore. Post-apocalyptic survivors have more important things on their mind than fixing old radio towers. So where do you find old, outdated technology?
One of the Brotherhood guys that passed through here mentioned seeing a dish in one of DC's old museums.
Well, at the museum, of course. After making the trek to the museum, fighting off radiated monsters, then replacing the satellite dish at the Washington Monument, Lone returns to Three Dog. The radio DJ thanks Lone for helping him get his word out to the masses, and as promised, Three Dog tells Lone about his dad.
And mentioned something called Project Purity.
According to Three Dog, James mentioned something called Project Purity. With a name like that, this project can only be extremely wholesome or extremely horrible. There's literally no in between. James also said he was planning to go visit a Dr. Lee in Rivet City.
You've never heard of Rivet City? Wow. Just wow.
Hey, give the guy a break. He just stepped outside the vault for the first time in his adult life. Just like Megaton being built around a bomb, Rivet City is built around, no, rivets. Kind of. It's an entire city built inside a beached aircraft carrier.
Hold it right there. State your business in Rivet City.
Anyway, Rivet City kind of looks like a rusty old ship, so imagine Lone's surprise on finding an impressive lab inside. Leading the ship's scientific research team is the woman his father wanted to speak to, Dr. Madison Lee. She instantly recognizes Lone as James' son.
You're James's son, aren't you? What are you doing here?
Wow, they must really look alike. Everybody can just immediately tell that Lone is James's child after so many years. Dr. Lee and Lone's dad go way back. She used to work with him many years ago with the Brotherhood of Steel watching over them. That is, until James decided to leave the life of science behind and take his son to Vault 101. This is something Dr. Lee is no way bitter about at all.
He abandoned our work. We had no choice but to do the same.
Anyway, James was here, but he's gone now. He wanted Dr. Lee to continue working on Project Purity, but the doctor insists that it's just too late for this. This didn't stop the stubborn James. Lone can probably find his father at the old Project Purity lab in the Jefferson Memorial Building. She tells Lone not to go after him.
Please don't go after him. It was foolish of him to even think about going there alone.
You told Lone where he is, and you just expect him not to go there? Getting pretty mixed signals here. Well then, what is Project Purity?
It was simple, really. Fresh, clean water for everyone.
The idea behind the project was to build a facility that could purify all the water in the nearby reservoir. This would create a huge freshwater supply that could help all the residents.
It just turned out to be more difficult than we anticipated.
Oh, okay. It's actually pretty wholesome and good. Seems that even though we're decades from the original Fallout, the struggle to get clean drinking water is still the biggest problem in this post-war world. Project Purity never managed to get off the ground. The radiation in the area was just too much for any facility to handle. The team had limited, outdated equipment and was running into too many problems. And then, Lone was born, and James left the lab. Without James, the Brotherhood of Steel withdrew their protection, making it too dangerous to continue working in the area. Sadly, the project was abandoned.
Your father decided that you were more important than everything we'd been working for, and he left. He left all of us.
Ooh, yeah, she's not bitter at all. Lone bids Dr. Lee goodbye and heads out to investigate the headquarters of Project Purity. He finds an abandoned old water purifier and a bunch of his father's audio journals. One of them, conveniently, mentions that James is going to search for Vault 112 for materials to get the water filtration system up and running.
Let's see if Braun has the missing puzzle piece.
Lone follows his father to Vault 112. A robotic voice welcomes him, helpfully letting him know that he's 202.3 years behind schedule. Better late than never, I guess. Inside are a bunch of high-tech pods, with one left empty. Lone sits in it and enters a virtual reality world called Tranquility Lane. Lone finds himself in a faded, sepia-toned pre-war suburban neighborhood.
Hey there, sport. Beautiful day, isn't it?
It's a look at a world that is no more, with white picket fences, prim and proper outfits, and very polite residents.
Say, you should go talk to Betty. She's waiting for you over on the playground.
Lone meets a young girl named Betty, who's watering some flowers on the playground. Betty informs Lone that he lives here now. They're going to play games, and they're going to have fun together, whether Lone wants it or not.
I want to play a game you're going to play, and I want to.
Betty sends Lone on a mission as part of her game to make a sweet little boy cry. It's not a very nice game. And then things get really dark. Betty's little girl voice is replaced by a man with a German accent, and he sends Lone to do increasingly horrible things.
Your approach was somewhat uninspired, but it'll do.
Lone is told to end the marriage of a sweet couple, end the life of one of the residents as creatively as possible, and Lone does all of these things obediently. It's all just a simulation and nothing is real, right? Well, every time he finishes a task, Betty tells him a little bit more about James. Turns out that Lone's father is in Tranquility Lane right now, but he wasn't as willing to play Betty's games. So Betty had him turned into a dog.
And at least you are cooperative, unlike your father.
Can't ask any pesky questions now.
Didn't you figure it out, huh? The dog. So loyal, so trusting.
Lone also finds out that Tranquility Lane is a simulation designed to give the war survivors a home away from home. Vault 112 was the prototype, but the rest never got a chance to be built. Betty, or rather, the man voicing her, was the simulation's designer, Dr. Stanislaus Braun. But instead of being a place of peace, Tranquility Lane is a playground for Braun. Most of the others stuck in here aren't aware that they're living in a VR game gone wrong, so he's been toying with these poor people forever. Lone discovers that there's a simulation kill switch hidden in an abandoned house.
But I know he still uses the fail-safe terminal.
He finds the terminal and activates the switch. This brings a group of Chinese soldiers into the simulation who shoot every single resident of Tranquility Lane. Wow. Keep in mind that this is the good way out of this. There's a hidden knife and mask in the abandoned house too, which players can put on and go around murdering all the residents themselves. Oh, great. Fun for the whole family. Dr. Braun/Betty is furious.
Do you realize what you've done? You've triggered the failsafe.
Now all the test subjects will die, except the doctor, leaving him all alone in Tranquility Lane for eternity. It's kind of like that Black Mirror episode, the USS Callister. Lone exits the simulation to find himself back in Vault 112, and right there with him is the man that he's been searching for this whole time, his father.
But what are you doing here?
At long last, the lone wanderer is reunited with his dad. James visited Vault 112 for information about Dr. Braun's work on the Garden of Eden creation kit, the GECK from Fallout 2.
Braun's work, the GECK, was designed to readapt environments for living after a nuclear war.
As before, the GECK is a device that can adapt harsh environments to be able to sustain life. It's one of Dr. Braun's creations. The same guy who's pretending to be a young girl and torturing people for fun also came up with this life-saving device. Lone's father is convinced that the GECK is just what Project Purity needed this whole time. He and his scientist buddies can adapt the GECK's tech to finally create a working filtration system. James never intended for his son to be part of the journey. Lone was supposed to stay at the vault and live a safe and sheltered life.
As much as I appreciate your help, you were supposed to stay there, to make a life for yourself there, not out here.
Good thing he didn't, or James would have been stuck in the simulation as a dog forever. Thank you wouldn't be out of place, Dad. James left the vault because he wanted to complete his life's work and bring safe drinking water to the wastelands of Washington, D.C. Then he could come back for his son and all the residents of Vault 101 and bring them to the surface. He assumed Lone would be safe in the vault, even though he, himself, had to run away to get out. Why he thought Alphonse would be okay with this is, not explained.
Over time, that idea took the form of a purifier. Not like the one in the vault, though.
Look, he seems to have good intentions, even if he goes about things the wrong way. Lone and his father return to Rivet City, and this time they convince Dr. Lee that they should resume work on the Purity Project. She gathers a small team of eager scientists, and everyone returns to the lab in the Jefferson Memorial. The idea is to reactivate the lab systems and use them to track down a GECK. But while Lone was running around inside a simulation with his dog dad, word of the project's return has spread. The team is met by a welcoming committee of Enclave soldiers and their commander, Colonel Autumn.
The person in charge is to step forward immediately and turn over all materials related to this project.
The colonel serves as the president's right-hand man and has the silly impression that the government still has any power over people in a post-apocalyptic world. Just like in Fallout 2, the Enclave is an organization that wants to bring back the American government the way that it was before the war. It's made up of a bunch of ex-government officials and throws its political weight around using armies with soldiers both human and robotic. Project Purity would be the perfect tool for these ex-government officials, because after all, whoever controls the water controls the people. Colonel Autumn and several of his soldiers confront James and other scientists inside a sealed chamber at the lab. Autumn kills the other scientists and demands that James turn over all research materials related to the Purity Project. James tinkers on the computer, pretending to do what the Colonel asked.
Run. Run!
Instead, James fills the room with a deadly dose of radiation. Within moments, everyone in the room is lying dead on the floor. Dr. Lee sums up what happened in the most understated, unemotional way.
James. He's gone.
After all that searching, Lone barely got to see his father, and now he's dead. Sacrificed himself to protect the project from evil men who want to use it to control people. Now what? With their leader gone, the Enclave soldiers are pretty ticked off. Lone and Dr. Lee evacuate the lab. They make their way through an underground tunnel and emerge in front of a large fortified building with guards stationed all around it. This is the Citadel, home of the eastern arm of the Brotherhood of Steel. Back before Lone was born and Project Purity was in full force, the Brotherhood provided James and his team protection. Now, the organization is the only place Dr. Lee could think to turn to for help fighting the Enclave.
Then it's as we feared. Medicine, I'm sorry this happened. I wish we could have done something.
Dr. Lee begs the head of the Brotherhood for help, but she also warns Lone to watch out. She's never fully trusted the Brotherhood, but there's still a better option than the Enclave.
Rothschild should help you, but don't forget that he's Brotherhood. I've never trusted them.
Inside the Citadel, Lone gets access to some cool technology thanks to the leader of the East Coast arm of the Brotherhood, Elder Owen Lyons. This includes a pre-war computer. It's pretty retro. A search through all the vaults reveals that Vault 87 has a GAC. All Lone has to do is, just go get it, before the Enclave does. He'll still have to figure out what to do about the little Enclave problem, but, well, that's a problem for later. The bigger issue right now is actually getting into Vault 87.
Gaining direct access will be quite impossible.
The vault's entrance is surrounded by lethal doses of radiation. Fortunately, there's another way. Rumor has it that Vault 87 might be accessible through the nearby Lamplight Caverns. This small cave was used as a tourist attraction before the war. In Lone's time, it's home to Little Lamplight, a city where only children under 16 are allowed. Children who are armed and wary of all adults.
You're big, and I don't have any big friends. You better just go out the way you came in.
Jeez, these kids aren't kidding around. There is an entrance to Vault 87 through the Kids' City.
But it's through Little Lamplight, and you're not getting into Little Lamplight. Guess you better find some other way, Mungo.
But the only way these vicious kids will let Lone in is if he shows them that he can be trusted. Little Lamplight's mayor let slip that a couple of their residents were recently kidnapped by slavers from the nearby settlement of Paradise Falls.
If you can bring them back, I might let you in.
If Lone can rescue them, the mayor will consider letting him into their home. Maybe. Paradise Falls is the home base of the local slavers. It's a lovely place to visit. You're into human trafficking and just generally a terrible person. Lone finds the missing kids locked away in the settlement.
Hey, mister, can you get us out of here?
More alarming, the kids have special collars on their necks. If you've watched Battle Royale, you know where this is going.
They got these collars on us, right? Make us blow up if we try and get out.
The kids leave the area, the collars blow up, taking their heads off. So the plan is threefold. Disable the collars through a nearby terminal, free the kids, and then help them get past the ruthless slavers. As with anything in the Fallout series, how players do this and how many heads roll in the process is totally up to them. Considering how horrible these people are, I mean, it's definitely tempting to just take out all the slavers.
Yo, you should know what I want before I even open my mouth.
Blech, get rid of them. Eventually, though, Lone manages to get the kids home safe and sound.
Thanks for helping us, Mungo. You're not so bad for a Mungo.
Lone gains entry into Little Lamplight. And now for the real task ahead, getting the GAC out of Vault 87. As promised, there is an entrance into the vault through Little Lamplight, but even without all the radiation, the vault isn't safe at all. It's home to super mutants and an abomination called the Centaur that has the body of a fleshy monster and the torso of that same fleshy monster, but with 4 arms attached. Does that make them legs? I don't know. Lone makes his way through the vault until he finds a row of cells. Imprisoned in one of them is Fox, a super mutant that's not like the others. He is mutated so far that he came out the other side as completely normal. Fox has been imprisoned by the other mutants because he cares more about learning and history than he does about killing humans. He's an intellectual.
It was only a matter of time before someone like you showed up with a Gek.
And we love Fox. Fox offers to help Lone get the Gek if Lone gets him out of prison.
Take me with you, and I'll retrieve the Gek for you.
The Gek is located in a room drenched in radiation, and super mutants have been exposed to so much that they've actually become immune to it. Technically, releasing Fox is optional. There are other ways to get the Gek. But look at him! How could you say no to this level of joy?
You have no idea how long I've pictured this moment in my mind, and it feels far better than I'd imagined.
As promised, Fox gets the Gek for Lone, and the two part ways. With the Gek firmly in hand, all Lone has to do is get back to Dr. Lee in the Citadel. But as he prepares to leave Vault 87, a grenade with the mysterious gas knocks him out. A bunch of heavily armed men enter the room, followed by Colonel Autumn. Wait, wasn't he dead? Turns out that Autumn injected himself with something right before Lone's father released the lethal dose of radiation at Project Purity. It's probably a powerful anti-radiation drug, and the quick thinking did save Autumn's life. So James's sacrifice was for nothing? That's pretty bleak. Lone passes out. When he wakes up again, he's at the Enclave base. Colonel Autumn is there to interrogate him. Before things get too heated, the president calls Autumn away. President John Henry Eden declared himself the president of the United States of America after the war, even though that doesn't really mean much in this post-apocalyptic world. He sets up the Enclave base in the capital. Here, he could arm his followers and even create an army of robots to protect Enclave members and spread word about their organization. And Eden has some interesting ideas for Lone. As soon as Autumn is out of the room, President Eden speaks to Lone through an intercom.
No doubt that you know who I am. I'm sure you've heard my radio broadcasts.
The president requests a meeting with Lone in his office. He even gives Lone back his stuff and unlocks the path to the office. Oh, well, that's just nice. When Lone finally gets to Eden's office, his face-to-face meeting isn't exactly what he thought.
Ah, face to face at last. It's high time we met.
It's more like face to computer, because President John Henry Eden isn't a human being. He's a highly intelligent, sentient AI.
I am the computer you see before you.
That's a plot twist. Eden is part of a special computer program installed in military bases before the war. The AI was supposed to automate certain systems, was also meant to keep the government running in case of a catastrophic event, like the Great War.
My personality became an amalgam of many of America's greatest presidents.
Eden asks Lone for his help in reshaping the nation's future. The AI president's vision of a future involves, in short, a genocide. Yeah, this again. Might have seemed like a silly sci-fi stuff in 2008 when Fallout 3 was released, but today it's extremely terrifying. Eden believes that Project Purity is the key to cleansing the nation of mutants, ghouls, and other creatures affected by radiation. He wants to add a special ingredient to the water, the forced evolutionary virus, known simply as FEV.
With a simple modification, it can be used to distribute agents that destroy mutated creatures upon ingestion.
The virus would kill every impure human, leaving only members of the Enclave and Vault dwellers with no exposure to the outside world.
Likewise, the good people of the Enclave will be unaffected as well.
Is this starting to sound familiar? The FEV was what the Master used in the first Fallout to create his super mutants. Also, the anti-mutant virus the Enclave was experimenting with in Fallout 2. Looks like Enclave is just still up to its old tricks, led by a murderous AI with noble ideas. War never changes. The only thing stopping Eden from carrying out his plan is his lack of hands. He asks Lone to spike his father's purifier with the modified FEV virus.
There is a vial in front of you filled with a modified FEV virus. It needs to be inserted into the control console for the purifier.
Yeah, he does say forced evolutionary virus. Even in the future, AI still makes stupid mistakes. Lone takes the modified FEV and leaves the Enclave base. He's faced with a horrible decision. Should he destroy the FEV and make an enemy of the all-powerful AI president? Should he do as Eden asks of him and infect everybody in the wasteland, even if it means hurting innocents like Fox? Or should he just stick his fingers in his ears, pretend he doesn't know anything, and just walk away? These are all pretty valid options in Fallout 3, but there's clearly only one right answer, and that's the one we're gonna follow. First, Lone has to deal with the problem of the false president. Luckily, the computer program listens to reason. Lone just politely asks Eden to shut himself down and destroy the Enclave base. The Enclave is gaining too much power. Forcing people to follow the president is undemocratic. Surprisingly, Eden agrees.
Yes, I suppose it is. Very well. You shall have your wish. Once you've left, I'll put an end to the Enclave.
Lone leaves the Enclave base, which blows up in his wake. Huh, that was easy. All that's left is to deal with Colonel Autumn. He is Lone's Gek, and is en route to the Purity Project to activate it right at this moment. Or try to, anyway. The Colonel is acting against Eden's orders. Doesn't want to poison everybody, but his motivations aren't all pure either. Autumn wants to use the water to control the population and bring the Enclave into power. You know, for the people's own good. Lone returns to the Citadel, while Dr. Lee and Elder Lyons are surprised to see him alive.
You're back. We all thought, you know.
After hearing Lone's news about the GAC and the Colonel, Elder Lyons decides to send a Brotherhood army to stop the Enclave from starting up the Purifier. They also send in their secret weapon, a giant weaponized robot called Liberty Prime. The Brotherhood army and their mech fight their way to the Purifier. They get Lone access to its control room. Here, he either talks Colonel Autumn into walking away, or has the final showdown with him. Either way, it doesn't end well for Autumn. With Colonel Autumn finally out of the way, the team face a new problem. The facility has suffered way too much damage. It could collapse at any moment, taking the Purity Project with it and making their whole fight for nothing. Someone will have to go into the still radiated control room and activate the Purifier.
Whoever does it isn't coming back out.
No, it can't be the super mutant who's immune to radiation, because it wouldn't be as dramatic. The Lone Wanderer enters the control room of his father's project. Here, he can make a decision. Save everybody in the wastelands, or only save those who are pure and not mutated. Either way, it's the last thing that he ever does.
What have you got on your mind?
In the good ending, Lone activates the water purifier. Like his father before him, Lone makes the ultimate sacrifice. He saves everybody in the capital, flaws and all. As his vision fades, the water in the tank before him clears, revealing a statue of Thomas Jefferson watching over him.
Sacrificing life itself for the greater good of mankind.
Fallout 3 released 5 add-ons to the main story. The first, Operation Anchorage, takes place before the tragic end of the main story. In it, members of the Brotherhood discover that the only way to unlock a door in an old armory is to basically survive a VR game. Lone enters the simulation of the Battle of Anchorage in Alaska in 2076. He must survive the brutal onslaught of Chinese forces.
I'm gonna push you bastards right back to the Great Wall of my house.
Successfully completing this mission lets Lone pick out a cool new equipment from the old armory once it's unlocked.
Good job making it through that simulation. All you have to do now is open the armory.
The Pit is the game's second DLC, and it also happens sometime before the end of Fallout 3. This time, Lone travels to the remains of Pittsburgh, now known as the Pit. The city is home to raiders and outlaws, and is generally not a nice place to be. But when Lone gets a distress call to help the citizens of the Pit, he answers it.
The Pit's a mess. Nearly everyone who lives there is either sick, dying, or worse.
The Pit was practically destroyed by the Brotherhood, who swept through it years ago. They were horrified to find that the radiation in the area turned some residents into wild creatures. Lone enters the Pit to find and give out a cure to the residents. The third DLC, Broken Steel, reveals that Lone hadn't actually died at the end of Fallout 3. 2 weeks after the end of the main story, Lone wakes up in the Citadel.
Everything's fine, you're safe. You're in the Citadel.
He joins the Brotherhood for one final fight against the Enclave. The DLC also follows Lone and the Brotherhood as he travels around the wasteland, delivering purified water to the people. How this goes depends on whether he chose to contaminate the water with FEV or not, showing the results of the player's decision at the end of the main story.
The tidal basin is full of fresh, clean water now.
The fourth DLC, Point Lookout, sends Lone to Point Lookout State Park, and the nearby town based on the real Maryland locations. What used to be a tourist and holiday spot is now an eerie marsh that's rumored to be haunted. Lone enters the town, spurred on by promises of hidden riches.
Just a huge abandoned estate teeming with who knows what opportunities for profitable scavenging.
What he actually finds is an old feud between two scientists, brain-altering plants, and a ghost town. Lone is caught in the middle of everything, but manages to escape and make his way back to the capital. The final DLC of Fallout 3 is Mothership Zeta. This DLC takes things out of this world, literally. The Lone Wanderer is abducted by aliens, because why not? He finds a group of other abductees, and together, they defeat the aliens and escape from the spaceship. Weirdly enough, this DLC is considered canon, so there you have it. On top of super mutants, ghouls, mutated roaches, and other creepy crawlies like the Centaur, the poor world of Fallout has aliens to worry about. Alright, Fallout New Vegas shifts the setting back to the west. 4 years after the end of Fallout 3, and yes, once again, war has not changed.
War. War never changes.
The game was originally going to be a DLC for Fallout 3, but it grew too big and became its own game. The game is a full story and brand new setting. New Vegas in the Mojave Desert. Vegas remains completely untouched by the nuclear devastation and bombing, making it perfect for Californians to expand to.
They returned with tales of a city untouched by the warheads that had scorched the rest of the world.
New Vegas is torn between several forces. On one hand, you have the new California Republic, known as the NCR. This faction is made up of an army from California who's taken over the Hoover Dam and gotten it working again. On the other hand, there's Caesar's Legion, a huge ancient Rome-inspired gathering of slaves captured from 86 tribes across the Mojave. In the middle of it all, the New Vegas Strip has kept running, proving that Vegas never sleeps, even after the apocalypse.
Through it all, the New Vegas Strip has stayed open for business, under the control of its mysterious overseer, Mr. House.
In Fallout New Vegas, you play as the Courier. Once again, you get to choose the protagonist's name. For this story recap, let's follow the male Courier. He's about to become a dead man walking, so we might as well call him John. Full name, John Doe. Remember that like with the other Fallout games, New Vegas has many paths that you can take, and different approaches to every situation. In this recap, I'm going to go through one complete route. Things might be out of order, or a little different from what you might have experienced as you played the game. Fallout New Vegas begins with John acting as a delivery boy for a courier company. His job is simple: bring some platinum chips to the New Vegas Strip.
What seemed like a simple delivery job has taken a turn.
Before he can make the drop, though, he's ambushed by a bunch of well-dressed thugs. They're led by a smooth-talking, slick-looking guy in a checkered suit.
You've made your last delivery, kid.
The man shoots John and leaves him to die out in the desert. Ugh, rough start. John miraculously survives this ambush. He wakes up in the town of Good Springs, under the care of the kind local doctor.
I hope you don't mind, but I had to go rooting around there in your noggin to pull all the bits of lead out.
The doctor patches John up after he's brought in by a friendly security robot, aka Securitron, named Victor.
Partner, might I say you're looking fit as a fiddle?
Doc gives John his things, arms him with a Pip-Boy, as is customary Fallout games, and sends him on his way. After getting his bearings and fully recovering from getting shot in the head as only a protagonist can, John leaves Good Springs. His first stop is the nearby town of Prim, where the local branch of his delivery company is located. Prim is overrun by escaped convicts who call themselves the Powder Gangers. These former prisoners were working on the local railway with NCR guards. They managed to escape by collecting explosives and ammo, and now run wild, bringing chaos with them. In Prim, John meets the kind old Johnson Nash. He's hiding out with the rest of the residents in one of the town's casinos.
Youngster, but you might want to rethink your plans. Town's gone to hell.
Nash tells John that the platinum chip delivery job seems strange, but he took it because he needed the money. Nash doesn't know where the men who attacked you are, but he knows who might: Prim's deputy. Unfortunately, the deputy is currently being held hostage in a nearby hotel. John fights his way through the hotel, frees the deputy.
I'd cross my fingers, but my hands are numb.
In return, the deputy gives John some information about the men that he's searching for.
Performing recon, gathering information on some of the Powder Gangers, when some great cons arrived with your friend in the suit.
The deputy happened to be watching the Powder Gangers when the man in the checkered suit came by. He was accompanied by some great cons, a raider gang that sells chems, aka drugs, and does odd jobs for the right price. The deputy overheard their next location, so that's where John is going to head next. John makes his way toward Nipton, but finds that the slave-powered Caesar's Legion has gotten there first.
Don't worry. I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates.
The town is on fire, and its residents are nailed up on crosses. A man in the most confusing outfit greets John. Blackout sunglasses, a fox head as a hood, and Roman armor. He's known as Vulpes Inculta, or as the much friendlier sounding Mr. Fox. He sounds much more like a snake as he tells John he'll kindly let him live, just so John can tell NCR soldiers about the Legion.
I want you to teach everyone you meet the lesson that Caesar's Legion taught here.
Nice. Apparently, Nipton was corrupt and wicked, so Mr. Fox let them play the lottery. The people who won got to watch their loved ones get brutally massacred while they were allowed to live.
Loved ones were dragged away to be killed.
Yay. If that's not horrible enough, John comes across one of these lottery winners. He doesn't seem to care that his home is on fire, only that he's not on fire with it.
Yeah! Who won the lottery? I did!
Okay, buddy, calm down. It's obviously too late to do anything at Nipton, so John leaves the burning town behind. Next up is the town of Novak. It's a charming town with friendly residents and a giant dinosaur sculpture named Dinky. Inside the dinosaur's mouth is Manny Vargas, a sniper responsible for keeping his town safe from enemies like the Legion during the day. Manny is a former great con, so he let the cons and their dapper friend stay with him.
No clue.
I know Benny hadn't paid up yet. Maybe that was where they were supposed to get square.
He gives John a name for the man in the checkered suit, Benny. He also tells John that they were heading to Boulder City next. Before he leaves Novak, John bumps into Victor the Securitron.
Butter my butt and call me a biscuit if it ain't my old friend from Good Springs.
What an odd coincidence. Not much is left of Boulder City. It was destroyed during the first battle of Hoover Dam when NCR soldiers blew it up along with a group of Caesar's Legion fighters.
The NCR still lost a bunch of troops in the fighting, though.
John finds an NCR encampment by the city, where the lead soldier, Lieutenant Monroe, admits that they have a situation with the Great Khans. The Khans attacked passing NCR troops. The soldiers managed to retaliate and corner the Khans in the Boulder City ruins, but they have 2 hostages. Now the NCR is kinda stuck. If they attack, the hostages are dead. If they don't attack, well, the hostages they're probably dead. John offers to act as a mediator, someone not connected to the Khans or the NCR. Monroe allows him to go in and try to talk to the Great Khan leader, Jessup.
Good luck.
Inside Boulder City, John can either talk his way through the encounter or go in guns blazing. Either way, Jessup actually remembers John as the courier that Benny killed, because, surprise, he's one of the thugs who was with him when it happened.
You're that courier Benny wasted back in Good Springs. You're supposed to be dead.
At this point, John has the option to tell Jessup, "I'm a ghost and I'm here to haunt you." Ooh.
All right, quit around.
Ooh. And Jessup doesn't buy it. Maybe this guy's not as dumb as he looks. Jessup reveals that he doesn't have the platinum chip that John was supposed to deliver. The chip was apparently just some kind of poker chip.
He's a snake, that's why.
Jessup doesn't know much more. All he knows that the job paid really well. But Benny apparently backstabbed Jessup and his men, stealing the chip and running off without paying him. Jessup is all too happy to tell him where to find the man. Benny is one of the chairmen, a powerful gang that runs the Tops Casino on the New Vegas Strip. Jessup even gives him a souvenir, Benny's lighter.
It's Benny's lighter. Shove it up his ass when you catch up with him.
In the speaking it out approach, Jessup and the NCR reach an unofficial agreement. The Great Khans will release the NCR soldiers unharmed, and the rest of the soldiers will pretend that they didn't see the Khans leave. It's a win-win. John also runs into Victor the Securitron again.
This is getting mighty embarrassing.
Starting to feel a little more than just a coincidence. Finally, after all that adventuring, John gets to the New Vegas Strip. He's greeted, once again, by Victor.
Consider me your personal welcome wagon.
Turns out that Securitron robots, including Victor, were created by the leader of New Vegas and the man behind the whole strip, Mr. Robert House. And right now, Mr. House wants to see John. John meets Mr. House at his casino on the strip, the Lucky 38. He appears as a static image of a man with a slick hairdo and a mafioso mustache.
Oh, don't be coy.
You might have your suspicions about mysterious leaders who speak through computers. We just went through a whole ordeal with President Eden in Fallout 3. Well, don't worry. We'll find out more about him later. But you can be absolutely sure that Mr. House is a human. Well, kind of. Mr. House has a job for John.
And I want it recovered. Simple enough.
The platinum chip belongs to Mr. House, but Benny has stolen it. And Mr. House doesn't like it when people steal from him.
I will pay you 4 times the delivery bonus stipulated in your contract.
Benny can be found in the Tops Casino, and once again, it's up to John on how to deal with him. He's every right to shoot the man down. An eye for an eye. But John can also decide to just speak to him.
The guy everyone saw go in the Lucky 38, that was you?
Benny is just as surprised as Jessup to discover that John is recovered from being dead.
This is good news. Maybe I can finally sleep at night, knowing you didn't die.
He suggests that they go to his private suite so he can answer his questions, and he actually does. Would you look at that? A man of his word. John presents Benny's letter to him, though not in the violent way that Jessup had suggested. Then they get down to business.
You got questions? I got answers.
Benny explains that the chip isn't literally platinum. The content inside of it is. It's a special storage device that can beef up the Securitron robots. This will make them a powerful force to defend the strip against the Legion, the NCR, and any other threat that comes their way. Benny wants the chip because he's tired of being bossed around by the head honcho. Mr. House revitalized the strip, but he's been too hands-off in his leadership. He doesn't even make deals in person, just through the Securitrons. That's suspicious. Benny is the head of one of 3 gangs fighting for power over the strip.
Of the 3 families, we're the only ones with the heart and savoir-faire to run the strip on our own.
He has ideas for it, and he's going to take it by force if he has to. More importantly, Caesar's Legion is planning another attack on the Hoover Dam. NCR troops are stationed at the dam waiting for this moment. They might not have enough manpower to hold the Legion back, though. And if Hoover Dam falls, they'll come after Vegas next.
Broad strokes, change in management.
Benny offers John a few sweet deals to try and get him on his side, but being shot in the head and left in the middle of the desert is pretty difficult to forget. John turns him down and leaves.
In the meantime, the presidential is yours whenever you want it. Adios.
There's still the matter of getting a hold of the platinum chip, so John decides to sneak into Benny's private suite when he's not there. In a dirty old hidden room, he finds one of Mr. House's Securitron robots. Except this particular robot has an adorable cartoon smiling face and a can-do attitude.
Sure! He came through here in a big hurry.
His name is Yes Man, and he's the ace of Benny's sleeve.
But you can call me Yes Man.
Yes Man is a reprogrammed Securitron that's literally unable to say no to any request from anyone.
To be nice! Very, very nice!
Seems like a big oversight, but hey, it works in John's favor. Yes Man is tasked with keeping an eye on Mr. House to help Benny stay one step ahead of the strip's leader. His connections to Mr. House is how Benny knew about the platinum chip delivery, and how he was able to intercept John on his way to the strip with the package. Yes Man gleefully tells John that Benny wants to kill Mr. House. Then, he plans to upload Yes Man to the computers so he can have full control over the strip.
That should give me control over all Mr. House's defenses, most prominently his Securitrons.
Benny and Mr. House both seem like the wrong fit for New Vegas. Both are out to save their own skin, no matter who they have to kill on their way to the top. But what if there's a third option? Hypothetically, what would happen if John decided to take over New Vegas?
Then I'd have to help you. I mean, it seems pretty obvious Benny wouldn't want me to, but hey, not my fault I can't say no.
Is that so? Well, that's one way this could go. John and the player have a decision to make. He can help Mr. House ensure a bright future for New Vegas. He can help the Legion take over Hoover Dam or the NCR to fight the Legion off, or he can say, screw it, and take over the strip himself. Decisions. Now for this recap, I'm going to continue assuming that we are not evil. Were you really considering taking the side of the Legion after they crucified all those people? I'm also choosing the ending that's considered one of the best, and one that's at least partially canon according to the Fallout show. So for this recap, we're going to follow John down Mr. House's story path. As soon as John leaves Benny's casino, he's approached by the creepy Mr. Fox.
Any crimes you may have perpetrated against the Legion are hereby forgiven.
His outfit is even more confusing this time. All of John's adventuring has caught Caesar's attention. Wow, John's pretty popular around here. Mr. Fox says their leader, oh so graciously, forgives John for any crimes against the Legion. By the way, Benny's run away to hide out with them. Oh, good riddance. Mr. House is not as happy about the way that things have turned out. When John meets him back at the Lucky 38, he points out that Benny is gone and the platinum chip is still missing.
Benny has fled the strip and the platinum chip has not been recovered.
Mr. House instructs John to follow Benny to the Legion's base in Fortification Hill. He has to get a hold of the platinum chip and use it to open a locked hatch. But Mr. House refuses to tell John what she'll find because that wouldn't be very fun.
I'm not offering you an incentive as crude as money, though there'll be plenty of that.
John makes a trip out to Fortification Hill where the Legion has a fort. He's allowed right in thanks to his personal invitation from Kaiser.
Mark or no, we will not tolerate aggressive action by visitors in the camp.
VIP treatment, baby! It's a historic first. The Kaiser doesn't invite just anybody to see him.
This is the first time Kaiser has ever summoned one of the dissolute to see him.
The Kaiser sits on a throne of spears on top of a fancy red rug. Yeah, he's kind of a big deal around here. The Kaiser is impressed by John.
You arrive on the strip and waltz into the Lucky 38 like someone left you a key under the doormat?
Since almost getting killed, John has tracked down this would-be killer and forced him to run away from his sheltered life. It's the kind of person who gets results. And the Kaiser likes that in a person. The Legion wasn't as welcoming to Benny. He's being held prisoner and John can't deal with him until he's dealt with the Legion. The Kaiser just hands the chip to John, and he gives him new orders. Use this chip to get through the hatch in the Legion's base and destroy whatever's inside.
My legionaries will meet you there, with your weapons and equipment.
As a bonus, John gets to decide how Benny will die.
Didn't leave me much choice when you showed up. Like I said, you forced my hand.
How nice of the Kaiser. As always, John has several options here. I hear that crucifixion is all the rage these days, but no, we're covering the good route. All John has to do is slip Benny a bobby pin and a stealth device, and he'll find a quiet way out. He promises John will never see him again. Goodbye forever, Benny. So, what's inside the hatch?
Was that meant to be a shocking revelation?
It's a secret bunker that belongs to Mr. House, patrolled by security robots. The man himself greets John inside. Well, the computer screen with the man, not the physical guy. John uploads the chip's data to the bunker's systems. This upgrades the Securitrons back at the strip, changing the faces on their screens from policemen to soldiers. Mr. House praises him for a job well done and tells him to return to Lucky 38. Back at Lucky 38, Mr. House tells John more about the platinum chip.
That's where the chip was printed, on October 22nd, 2077.
Apparently, it was manufactured in Sunnyvale, California on October 22nd, 2077. It was supposed to be delivered to Mr. House the very next day, but the Great War broke out first and never got to him. Oh wait, hold up. Fallout New Vegas takes place in the year 2281? Is this guy seriously claiming he was alive over 200 years ago? Yeah. Mr. House was in a technology-induced coma for many decades.
As I was saying, I need you to enlist or neutralize the boomers at Nellis Air Force Base.
His real body is deathly skinny and being kept alive by a special pod. John would get to meet him face to face if he were thinking of killing him in another path.
Why have you done this?
Wow. Anyway, it's time to see what the heck the upgrade even does to the Securitrons. The robots are already pretty sturdy and mostly bulletproof. They're also armed with laser machines and submachine guns. That already sounds pretty deadly. But it turns out these guns were just the robot's secondary weapons.
Launcher gives the Securotron the ability to engage ground and air targets.
The Platinum chip installed an update that finally allows them to use their primary weapons, missiles and grenade launchers. Yeah, the murderous armed robots need missiles and grenades.
Return to the penthouse now. We have much to discuss.
Any Legion or NCR that even looks at this thing funny is going to get obliterated. That's a lot of power. Mr. House has kept New Vegas running through cunning foresight and bargaining.
I have no interest in abusing others.
He saw the NCR approaching before they became big and made sure to have an appealing offer ready when they arrived. He worked with the three families of the Strip and came up with a mutually beneficial agreement with the NCR. The NCR was allowed to gain control over the Hoover Dam. In return, they would recognize Mr. House as the leader of New Vegas. They would provide water and electricity to the Strip. NCR soldiers are also frequent visitors to the Strip, boosting the economy. But the Legion is a huge part of why Mr. House feels safe dealing with the NCR. Once the Legion is defeated, there won't be any reason for the alliance to continue.
And so they negotiated.
Mr. House has his sights set on the stars. As New Vegas continues to grow, it will have the funds and resources to create awesome new technology. Before long, Mr. House will be able to send people to the stars and beyond.
I prefer the term autocrat.
Someone needs to get him in touch with those aliens from Fallout 3 DLC, truly. In short, Mr. House isn't a gambling man. He's a chess player. He thinks ahead 10 steps, and he always plays to win. All that's left now is to wait for the Legion to attack Hoover Dam. Unleashing an army of killer robots is fine if it's in self-defense, right? If these robots happen to take out both the Legion and the NCR as they fight each other, well, that's just an added bonus.
There's just one reason why the NCR hasn't contrived some outrage to justify invading the Strip.
In the meantime, Mr. House has a different task for John. Out by the Nellis Air Force Base is a tribe known as the Boomers. No, not the kind of, I bought my house for $40,000 in 1970, and these young people just don't want to work anymore. Yeah, not that kind of boomer. The explosive kind of boomer.
Artillery of this sort has a range of several miles.
When it comes to gas, they tend to fire first and not bother asking questions at all, because they're firing howitzers, and these make guests much less able to ask questions. Mr. House wants to make sure that when the fighting starts, these cannons will be pointed in the right direction. In other words, away from the New Vegas Strip. John manages to get through all the explosions with some strategic running and hiding. When he reaches the fencing of the old airface base, he's greeted with a surprisingly warm welcome. Mostly the boomers are impressed that he managed to get through their security measures of very large explosions.
Move a muscle now and I'll blow you to pieces.
They take John to see their leader and oldest tribe member, Mother Pearl.
Prophecy? Do we look like a bunch of religious idiots?
Pearl tells John off for making her wait so long. What? Pearl was hoping an outsider would come visit them. I think the heavy bombing of everyone on the outside probably discouraged visitors, lady. Pearl reveals that the boomers aren't as isolated as they seem. She knows a war is coming, that it will bring change with it.
You're that little bit of the world, child.
And she believes it's time to start letting the world in, starting with John.
We're swimming in problems. My youngers can tell you all about it.
John helps Mother Pearl around the settlement, showing the boomers that outsiders aren't all savages. John helps the boomers restore an old bomber plane and prepare it for battle. In return, Mother Pearl promises John that the boomers will aid Mr. House in the coming fight.
We'll be there when you need us.
Okay, so now, John has the Securitron robots leveled up, and the help of the surprisingly powerful boomers.
It concerns the Omertas and their den of vice, Gomorrah.
It's time to tackle things a little closer to home. One of the powerful three families, the Omertas, have been suspiciously quiet. Mr. House suspects that they're up to something.
The Omertas are fanatically loyal to each other.
John seeks out the lowest level lieutenant of the Omertas, a guy named Cachino. Cachino isn't winning any awards for Nice Guy of the Year.
Do you mean business? You looking to get yourself burned?
He's also been going behind the Omerta's backs, doing some dark alley business deals. His diary documents all this in detail, including bragging about his exploits with some ladies of the night, a fact that one of the women actually confirms.
He's broken so many of their rules that I don't know how he still breathes.
Wow, what a sleazeball. It would be fun to take this guy down a notch, and John can do that, but he can also try talking to him, I guess. Once John shows Gugino's diary, he breaks down pretty quick.
I can't stop you, but that's gonna mean my death.
John sells Gugino back his own journal. In exchange, Gugino tells him some fun facts about the Omertas. The family's been secretly arming themselves through a new supplier. They plan to take over the strip from Mr. House. John convinces the smuggler to get out of town before things get hairy and destroys the guns. Then it's time to have a little chat with the bosses of the Omertas family.
Clan will be hard to replace, but not impossible.
With the help of Gugino, John takes out the big bosses. Unfortunately, this puts the sleazy Gugino in charge of the Omertas.
What do you have to report about the Omertas?
He's not the best option for a leader, but he's easy to manipulate, and he owes John. And those two things make him ideal for Mr. House. After getting the Omertas on Mr. House's side, John gets to revisit a blast from the past, the Brotherhood of Steel. Unfortunately, this time around, the Brotherhood poses a threat to Mr. House, since they want to safeguard all pre-war tech. Speaking with them isn't an option.
We're talking about a coterie of bulging-eyed fanatics who think all pre-war technology belongs to them.
So they must be destroyed. Most of the Brotherhood in the Mojave Desert was already wiped out by the NCR. A few leftovers remain in a bunker at Hidden Valley. John gains the Brotherhood's trust enough to get invited into their bunker.
You took an extreme risk in coming here. My policy towards trespassers has not been lenient.
Once inside, he starts the bunker's self-destruct sequence and gets the heck out of there before the whole thing blows up.
Have you destroyed the Brotherhood of Steel?
Returning to Mr. House, John finds out that tensions are rising between the Legion and the NCR at Hoover Dam. To raise morale among the troops, the NCR's president, Aaron Kimball, plans on paying the soldiers a visit.
I need you to make sure that no harm comes to President Kimball.
It's very likely that the Legion will try to kill him every chance they get, but for Mr. House's plan to work, the battle for Hoover Dam has to happen. Besides, who knows who would take over from the current president? That means that it's up to John to stop all the assassination attempts and to keep Kimball safe. John joins the eye-patched Ranger Grant in protecting the NCR president.
Once we start, we'll be on a strict timetable.
Luckily, Grant's heard of John and lets him tag along to help. John disarms a bomb and kills a few would-be assassins while Kimball makes his speech. The president arrives and leaves safe and sound, all in a day's work.
If not for you, President Kimball would be dead.
With the battle finally about to break out, Mr. House has just one final step to take care of. John is sent to a building called the El Dorado substation to install a special chip. With everybody distracted by the fight, no one will notice or mind if Mr. House just redirects all the station's power to Lucky 38, right?
When the Legion attacks, the NCR may cut power altogether.
All this fighting and robots take a lot of energy. With the Hoover Dam out of commission, Mr. House wants to be absolutely sure that he'll have enough to keep the strip and himself running. This is a simple task. John's in and out before the NCR soldiers even know what hit them. And now, all that's left is to sit back and wait for the battle to begin. All the pieces are in place, and the odds are in favor of Mr. House. It's finally time for the payoff.
Their assault could begin at any moment, so that's where you'll be heading.
Fighting breaks out between the NCR and Caesar's Legion at Hoover Dam.
Perhaps the greatest battle the Earth has seen, since the human race nearly made itself extinct.
John arrives to act as Mr. House's eyes, ears, and guns. The battle over the dam is in full swing. All the allies that John has recruited over his dealings with Mr. House make an appearance, including the Boomer's bomber plane. John makes his way through all the fighting and arrives at the dam's control room. Here, John installs another override chip, giving Mr. House control of the entire area.
I just need you to head over to the East Power Plant and manually activate the switch.
He redirects power to the Securitrons and prepares the terms of surrender for the NCR troops once the Legion is taken care of. Everything is in motion, so it's time to give the battle one final little nudge. John fights his way into the Legion's camp and faces their most powerful fighter, the Legate Linnaeus, aka the Monster of the East.
Many graves in the East are filled with those who said as much, with braver words, not backed by strength.
The Legate can be fought or convinced to retreat. Either way, John eliminates the Legion threat. With the Legion gone, it's time to deal with the NCR.
Could use 100 of you. Just scatter you over the east like jacks.
John presents the order to retreat to the NCR leader, General Lee Oliver, and the general isn't happy with the orders, especially when the Securitrons arrive to back John up.
The free economic zone of New Vegas. What the hell does that mean?
But what worked for the Legion works for him too. John can convince General Oliver to GTFO.
Few met my expectations. Fewer still surpassed them.
Or he can just shoot him. Both works. And just like that, the battle is over. The Legion is gone, and the NCR has backed down and will be leaving Hoover Dam. And when the dust settles, Mr. House remains in control of the all-important dam, its power, and its water. And he has an army of Securitron robots armed with rocket launchers and grenades to stop anybody who doesn't like this new turn of events. How nice. Mr. House, in the body of a Securitron robot, approaches John in the aftermath.
If I have need for a specialist of your stripe again, I'll know just where to turn.
He thanks John for all his help. New Vegas will live and prosper.
And so the courier who had cheated death in the cemetery outside Good Springs cheated death once again.
And it's all thanks to a nobody. A courier who was killed but refused to stay dead. The Dead Money DLC takes place in Sierra Madre, a resort that never got to open because of the Great War. The creepy place is haunted by a bunch of ghost people in hazmat suits, who wander around the resort capturing and dragging away anybody who comes their way. John is called to the resort by promises of riches hidden within the casino's vault. What he actually finds is a game, created by a man named Father Elijah. He's gathered a team of treasure hunters to seek out the resort's secrets, but John has to be careful. All of them are wearing collars. If one of them dies, they all die.
If that's what it takes to make you cooperate, so be it.
John works together with the others to escape from the Sierra Madre alive. Honest Hearts takes John to Utah's legendary Zion National Park before the second battle for Hoover Dam. He embarks for the park's wilderness, but things go wrong when his expedition is attacked by local raiders. Several tribes in Zion are fighting among themselves, and John finds himself in the middle of the battle. At the center are a Mormon missionary and a horribly burned man on the run from the Legion.
We all go through periods of darkness.
The burned man wants to fight back against invading tribes. The missionary, on the other hand, wants to unite the local tribes and evacuate peacefully. John's decisions on this expedition determine the path the tribe takes to ensure peace. In the third DLC, Old World Blues, John is kidnapped by the Think Tank, a bunch of pre-war scientists with cyborg bodies keeping them alive. The scientists have taken out John's brain and then lost it.
But what of its brain? We scooped that out.
The DLC follows his journey to get it back and stop the scientists from experimenting on the rest of the wasteland. Okay, we've officially found something even more ridiculous than Fallout 3's Aliens DLC. Lonesome Road is the last DLC for Fallout New Vegas. In this one, John gets to revisit the start of his story. The Platinum chip was originally supposed to be delivered by another courier named Ulysses, but he passed the task on to John, sparking the start of the story. This DLC explains that Ulysses had followed John's path as a courier and the accidental destruction John left in the wake.
It's about the message you carried.
Ulysses was so upset with John that he decided to let John take the Platinum chip, knowing it was dangerous. In the DLC, John takes on one final courier job for Ulysses that shows him the damage he's done just by traveling through places. Fallout 4 kicks off 6 years after the events of Fallout New Vegas. We're back on the East Coast, in Boston, and the surrounding areas in Massachusetts. This time, depending on the gender you select, the main character's spouse will have a set name of either Nate or Nora. Let's follow Nora for this recap. Nora is also known by another name, the Sole Survivor. We're going to find out why in just a moment. Fallout 4 takes place in 2287, but actually starts on October 23rd, 2077, in the quaint suburban town of Sanctuary Hills. War is just about to break out, but Nora doesn't know that yet. She's happily spending the morning with her husband Nate, their baby son Sean, and their politely British robot butler, Codsworth.
Hey, Codsworth.
Enjoy your coffee, Mum.
They might as well be the Jetsons. It's all so perfect and futuristic. As soon as Nora leaves the house, she's greeted by a representative from Vault Tech, the company behind all the vaults that saved the lives of thousands of people after the Great War.
You see, Vault-Tec is the foremost builder of state-of-the-art underground fallout shelters.
Luckily, Nora and her family have been pre-selected to take part in the experimental Vault 111. They're right on time, too. The first bombs drop just a few hours later, sending the entire country into chaos.
Residents of Sanctuary Hills, if you are registered, evacuate to Vault 111 immediately.
Nora, her husband, and their son are all admitted to Vault 111. Once inside, everybody's directed into some futuristic pods, which the Vault's resident doctor assures them are for decontamination. Nora steps into one pod, while Nate and Sean go into another. Before she knows what's happening, Nora's vision goes white, and she fades out of consciousness.
3, 2, 1.
Nora wakes up at one point to see some scientists open Nate and Sean's chamber. They fight over Sean. When Nate refuses to give up their baby, the scientists shoot him and take Sean anyway.
I'm not giving you Sean!
Oh my god. One of the thugs peers into Nora's chamber and says something about her being backup.
At least we still have the backup.
Backup for what? Before she can react, Nora falls back asleep. The next time she wakes up, something has gone wrong with her chamber. The door is open and she falls out, officially starting her story. In case you didn't catch on yet, the chambers in Vault 111 were not for decontamination. They were cryo chambers meant to keep the Vault's residents in a frozen sleep. Nora has been asleep for 200 years. That's one hell of a power nap. At least she didn't wind up like poor skinny Mr. House. A look at the other cryopods reveals the worst. Everybody else is dead, leaving Nora as the sole survivor of Vault 111.
Oh god. Why would Vault Tech do this?
Oh, that's why they call her that. The vault is completely abandoned. Something went seriously wrong. Nora finds the regulation Fallout Pip-Boy and leaves the vault in search of her son. Outside, Nora discovers the ruins of Sanctuary Hills and her trusty robot Codsworth.
What happened to the world?
The robot is as chipper as ever and seems completely unbothered by all the destruction around him. Nora has just one thing on her mind, her baby.
Why, Sir had him last, remember? Perhaps he's gone to the Parker residence to arrange a playdate.
Codsworth has no idea where Sean is. Perhaps he's gone to have a playdate with the neighbors. Anyway, Nora must be hungry. It's been 210 years since she last ate anything.
That means you're, 2 centuries late for dinner.
With a little nudge, Codsworth breaks down. Living alone for over 2 centuries has been horrible.
I spent the first 10 years trying to keep the floors waxed.
He's been all alone with nobody to serve, but he really doesn't know anything. He suggests that a good place to start is the nearby town of Concord. Nora picks up the trusty Fallout companion Dogmeat at a nearby truck stop.
You lose your owner, buddy?
Then, she heads out to ask about Sean in Concord. Concord's in pretty decent shape, all things considered. Many of the historic buildings and houses are still standing. Nora arrives right on time for a fight. The place has been taken over by raiders, and the locals could use some help. Nora enters the Museum of Freedom and finds all the residents huddled in there, hiding from the raiders.
Man, I don't know who you are, but your time is impeccable.
They're led by Preston Garvey of the Commonwealth Minutemen.
Preston Garvey, Commonwealth Minutemen.
The Minutemen are a faction of common people fighting to keep the peace in the area. According to Garvey, the people he's with aren't actually with Concord. They've been on the run, trying to find a place to live for a while. They were driven out of their last home by ghouls, and other raiders have started a fight. Their numbers are going down quickly.
Yesterday there were 8. Now we're 5.
If this keeps up, Garvey isn't going to have anybody to protect. Nora helps Garvey and the others fight off the raiders. Not bad for a lawyer, just woke up after 200 years. The group leaves for Sanctuary Hills, and Nora continues her search. Nora's next stop is Diamond City. It's the largest city in the Commonwealth, so it's the most likely place to find a hint about Sean's location. When she gets there, Nora finds out that the best place to track down a missing person is with the Valentine Detective Agency. Nora asks Nick Valentine's secretary for help tracking down her missing baby. Unfortunately, seems like Nora has had some pretty bad timing.
Afraid you're too late. Office is closed.
Wait, who are you? You the detective?
Because Valentine has gone missing. It's pretty ironic. Valentine was hired to investigate a local gang's abduction of a woman and went to check out their base at a nearby station.
He just smiled and walked out the door like he always does.
Now, he's being held hostage by the gang. Well, an abducted detective is no use to Nora, so she heads out to rescue him. The detective is pretty easy to spot. He looks like he walked out of a film noir flick as a hard-boiled private investigator, trenchcoat and fedora getup, and a wisecrack always ready. He's also a synth, a humanoid android created by the Institute, a mysterious organization full of mad scientists and big dreams for the Commonwealth. Still, Valentine's a pretty chill guy for a sentient AI.
Question is, why did our heroine risk life and limb for an old private eye?
As they make their way out of the gang's base, it turns out the so-called kidnapped woman has joined the gang of her own free will.
Then you had to get all sentimental. All that stupid crap about the old times.
Go figure. Nora and Valentine could just kill her and the gang's boss, but that wouldn't be very nice. Instead, they show the boss how much worse his life has gotten since the woman joined the gang. She calls the guy a fat ass and runs home.
Always gotta hit you where it hurts.
It's pretty classy. The boss lets Nora and Valentine escape, as thanks for helping him dodge that bullet. Anyway, now that the missing Valentine is back at his detective agency, it's his turn to help Nora. Nora tells Valentine everything she remembers about the kidnapping. Valentine suspects that the Institute had something to do with the tragedy. After all, getting into a vault, bypassing its cryosystems, and abducting a small child is kind of a lot.
Those early model synths of theirs strip whole towns for parts, killing everything in their way.
Nora remembers one guy in particular detail, the one who called her backup. As she describes him, Valentine recognizes him.
You didn't hear the name Kellogg at all, did you?
She's describing a mercenary named Conrad Kellogg. Kellogg was seen around Diamond City with a young boy before he disappeared.
Maybe it's another kidnapped kid.
Yeah.
Plus, he's kind of notorious for doing all sorts of shady work for an unknown employer, so it sounds like it might be him. Nora gets into Kellogg's house and starts searching for clues. Then she realizes she has the best detective that nature could have given her, Dogmeat.
Commonwealth mutt like him can track a man's scent for miles.
Nora has the doggo sniff one of Kellogg's partially smoked cigars, and they're off. Dogmeat tracks Kellogg's scent all the way out of Diamond City into a nearby fort. Nora breaks in and finds Kellogg locked up in an office. He admits that he did have Sean, but he doesn't anymore.
Ain't gonna happen. Your boy's not here.
There's nothing Nora or anybody else can do to save Sean now. He's with the Institute.
The Institute.
Kellogg starts a fight, which Nora wins because she's the protagonist.
I only hope I go to hell so I can kill you all over again, you piece of...
She desperately searches for any clues as to where Sean might be. Looting Kellogg, Nora finds his gun and a cybernetic brain augmenter, an advanced computer that hooks up directly to your brain. Turns out that Kellogg isn't actually human. He's a synth, like Valentine. But while Valentine is clearly a machine, shaped like a human, Kellogg looked and acted totally like a human being.
All this tech. You were barely human.
This is the latest generation synth, and it's terrifying to think that more Institute lackeys might be walking around in the Commonwealth. Kellogg's brain augmenter can give Nora a clue into Kellogg's history, pointing her in the direction of Sean. The guy's memories are stored on it like on a computer. All she needs is a way to actually open and to read them. To do this, Valentine accompanies Nora to Boston to find a woman named Dr. Amari. The doctor's a specialist in helping synths. Once in a while, a synth will escape the Institute. Dr. Amari is the head of the Memory Den, a place where synths can come to have their memories wiped so that they can start fresh. The doctor plugs the augmenter into Valentine's brain, allowing Nora to see Kellogg's memories from his point of view.
Let's see here.
Kellogg had a difficult life. From a young age, he did whatever he could to stay alive, even if it meant doing some horrible things. Nora finds out that everything she suspected is true. Kellogg worked for the Institute, and he abducted Sean from Vault 111 on their orders.
I'm not saying I haven't done it, but, I never like to.
Then, he left the other cryopods off, killing everybody in the vault except for Nora.
Guess the old man didn't want so many loose ends.
In his final memory, the synth was on the hunt for a scientist named Brian Virgil, so that must be where Nora has to go next.
He's gone rogue. Name's Dr. Brian Virgil.
The only problem is that Virgil has disappeared into the glowing sea, a massive span of land that's covered in a radioactive fog and constantly experiences rad storms, which are about 100 times more deadly and terrifying than regular storms. The journey to the glowing sea is not easy. Skirting along the edge of the radiation cloud, Nora fights deathclaws, rad scorpions, feral ghouls, and even the very air that she's breathing. Nora finds the scientist hiding in a cave deep inside the glowing sea. He managed to escape from the Institute by turning himself into a super mutant.
Turning into one of these hulking monstrosities was the only way to get here.
Virgil tells Nora that the only way to get into the Institute is through a teleporter. A molecular relay.
The relay is the only way in and out of the Institute.
It's a fancy way of saying teleporter. Just say teleporter. To teleport in, Nora needs to get a key and build a signal interceptor. Nora tracks down a rogue Institute synth for the key. With help from one of the factions and a whole lot of scavenged materials, she also builds the interceptor. And then, at long last, Nora activates the teleporter and finds herself inside the Institute. Nora explores the Institute looking for information about her son and the serum for Virgil. She follows the instructions of somebody called Father through the structure's halls.
I wondered if you might make it here.
Eventually, she finds herself in a room with a young boy. The boy is her son. Well, kind of. He's a synth version of Sean, and he's scared of Nora and calls for his father.
Sean.
The man named Father walks in and deactivates the young boy, then he introduces himself to Nora. This is the real Sean.
I am Sean. I am your son.
The thing is, Nora was asleep for 210 years. She thought her boy was a baby because that's what she knew him as, but Sean was actually taken from the vault 60 years ago.
But why? Why take a child?
The baby Nora's been searching for isn't a baby at all. And then, Sean drops another bombshell. He's the director of the Institute.
Ah, now that's the question, isn't it? Why me?
Vault 111 was never supposed to let its residents sleep for hundreds of years. The vault was a secret test of cryogenic sleep, and its residents were unknowing test subjects. The residents were supposed to sleep for about 180 days, observed by staff. After the set time passed, the staff was supposed to get a signal to let the residents out of their frozen sleep, but the all clear never came. The vault staff started to run out of food and water, so they abandoned the vault and everybody else sleeping inside of it. Fast forward 150 years, the Institute is established underneath the remains of the Commonwealth Institute of Technology. Its goal is to take humanity deeper underground, away from the corrupting surface and all of its mutations.
It has never been easy, and our actions are often misinterpreted by those above ground.
They decided to create human passing synths to send to the surface as spies. To do so, they wanted to use human DNA as the base. Except it's hard to make a passable human when every human in the wasteland is corrupted by years of exposure to radiation and mutation.
Human synths? Really?
Then, the Institute discovers Vault 111. It's perfect, as a tiny, perfectly preserved pre-war baby to experiment with.
I was exactly what they needed. And so it was my DNA that became the basis of the synthetic organics.
Kellogg and two scientists grab the baby, kill Nora's husband, and cut the life support of all the other pods except for Nora's, just in case they need backup for the infant. Wow. Over time, Sean has come to be known as the father of the Institute, since all the synths were created with his cells.
I was exactly what they needed.
He gained control of the Institute and discovered that one of his parents was still alive. Nora's cryopod opening wasn't an accident. It was a decision made by Sean. He wanted her to find him. The reunion with her baby doesn't quite go as planned. Sean offers Nora a chance to work with the Institute.
I won't be a part of this. I can't.
Nora has arrived right in time. The Institute is about to power up its own nuclear reactor. This would allow them to become completely independent from the outside world, making the world and all of its people pretty much unnecessary. Look, Sean might be her son, but wrong is wrong. Nora refuses to work for the Institute and is declared its enemy. For the final part of Fallout 4, the player has to choose a faction, which locks players into that faction's ending. The factions Nora can choose are the Minutemen, the Railroad, the Institute, and our old friends, the Brotherhood of Steel. As with New Vegas, I'm going to take you through one of the better paths. Let's rejoin the Brotherhood, see what their story path has in store for Nora.
Our order seeks to understand the nature of technology, its power.
The Brotherhood of Steel first appears in the Commonwealth right around the time of Nora's meeting with Kellogg. Nora helps the Brotherhood commander fight off some feral ghouls.
I don't intend to give up and head home, or end up missing.
She continues to help the organization with various missions until they trust her enough and invite her to officially join the Brotherhood of Steel. Little by little, Nora rises through their ranks. When she sets up the teleporter, she does so with Brotherhood help. Since she's about to enter the Lion's Den, Nora's allowed to become a part of a secret Brotherhood project.
We'd like her to continue where she left off. That's all I can tell you.
The Brotherhood is trying to revive Liberty Prime, the giant mech that was so helpful to them in defending the capital 10 years ago. The robot's broken, destroyed by the Enclave back in Fallout 3. To get Liberty Prime up and running again, the Brotherhood needs a skilled engineer. While inside the Institute, Nora encounters a face from the past, Dr. Madison Lee, former Brotherhood of Steel ally.
I knew it was just a matter of time before your people would track me down.
In the years between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, Dr. Lee left the faction. She never fully trusted them, definitely didn't agree with the Brotherhood having control over all the water in the capital after Project Purity was activated. All Dr. Lee wanted was to be allowed to research in peace. So when Sean offered her a job at the Institute, she accepted.
The Brotherhood needs your help, Doctor.
Needs my help.
But Nora can be quite convincing too. She persuades Dr. Lee to return to the Brotherhood and help them repair Prime. Together, they rebuild Liberty Prime bigger, stronger, and armed with nuclear bombs. It's time to fight fire with earth-shattering weaponry and life-altering radiation.
Impossible.
For Liberty! Liberty Prime is activated and leads the charge against the Institute under the CIT. Is anyone else getting flashbacks to Fallout 3? Liberty Prime creates a hole in the ruins, giving Brotherhood members access inside without needing to teleport.
Directive 7.
Sweet. Down the hatch. Nora and her Brotherhood companions make their way through the Institute, planting an explosive charge along the way. Nora seeks out Sean for one final conversation with her son, who, just to pour salt in the wound, is also dying.
You can't imagine why I'd be standing here.
Perhaps I didn't think to count you among them.
It's kind of against the Brotherhood's whole thing, but Nora can convince Sean to disable the part of the synths that causes them to defend the Institute so they can escape.
Enter access code 9003.
She can also convince him to issue an evacuation order. This allows the scientists, synths, and other personnel to escape from the Institute unharmed. Nora says a final farewell to Sean and leaves the Institute with the others. At the surface, she's given the honor of detonating the explosive.
Press that button, and you not only defeat our enemy, you restore order and decency to the Commonwealth.
This destroys the Institute and ends the organization's reign over the Commonwealth once and for all. But first, she discovers that the synth version of Sean has made it out with the others.
Of course I'm your mother.
Good. For a second, I thought you forgot who I was.
Players can decide here what to do with the android child. They can send the boy back to the Institute to be destroyed, or they can choose to keep the boy as their replacement son.
All right. You can come with me.
Really? Do you mean it?
To be honest, both are pretty sad options. If Nora chooses to keep Sean by her side, he hands her a recording from the real Sean. He reveals that he's reprogrammed the child bot to believe that he's Nora's human son. The old Sean asks Nora to take care of him. After all, everybody deserves a family. Finally, the Institute is destroyed, and Fallout 4 comes to an end. Automatron is Fallout 4's first DLC. An evil mechanist has brought robots to the Commonwealth. In case you didn't get enough of killer robots in New Vegas, Nora wages a battle against these robots, including the Robo-Brains, robots powered by human brains.
Besides, Robo-Brains are notorious for being, well, a real pain in the neck.
As she fights these bots, Nora can scavenge parts and build her very own robotic companions. What, was Codsworth not enough for her? The Valentine Detective Agency has a new job, and Nora's on the case. The Far Harbor DLC sends Nora to the island of Far Harbor off the coast of Maine, where nature is wild and the conflict is wilder. Bunch of factions are at war with each other, as always, and Nora is sent in to keep the peace. The Nuka World DLC shows there's nothing better than a post-apocalyptic trip to an abandoned amusement park. Nora pays a visit to the magical land of Nuka World, where the fun never stops.
Those bastards have my family. You gotta help me.
She fights and joins forces with raider gangs among the amusement park's creepy abandoned rides. Fallout 4 had a cool new feature that let players create their own settlement through a workshop. 3 of Fallout 4's DLCs are add-ons for that workshop. The Wasteland workshop lets players bring in elements from outside the settlements into them, like raiders and deathclaws. The Contraptions workshop helps turn settlements into well-oiled machines through the use of mechanical additions like conveyor belts. And finally, the Vault Tech workshop is a chance to create your very own vault with various settlers from the Wasteland.
Physically, the damage is minor, but I am registering sadness and anger at the loss of my friends.
None of these add-ons added anything to the story at all. Unlike the other Fallout games, Fallout 76 is a fully online multiplayer game and is deeply hated by the community. It takes place before the entire series and follows a character from Vault 76. As the game is a live service title, its story is ever evolving, and we won't go into too much detail here, because as I said, it's pretty universally hated. In a nutshell, Fallout 76 takes place just 25 years after the Great War in eastern United States, surrounding the Appalachian Mountains. Horrible disease called the Scourged Plague has taken over the area, and players are sent out to fight it and stop it from spreading to the rest of the US. Expansions have added new content, including new factions fighting for control over the area. Fallout Tactics, Brotherhood of Steel, and Fallout Brotherhood of Steel are not the same game. Yes, really. In fact, if you ask any Fallout fan, they'll tell you that Fallout Brotherhood of Steel actually doesn't exist. It was made in 2004 for consoles, is considered the worst Fallout game, and none of it is canon at all. So, we're gonna go ahead and just pretend that it doesn't exist as well. Okay, Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel, a tactics game released in 2001. Even though it was released after Fallout 2, Fallout Tactics takes place right after the end of the first game and before the start of the second. When the Fallout franchise was acquired by Bethesda in 2007, they immediately made Fallout Tactics not canon at all. They said, and I quote, "For our purposes, neither Fallout Tactics nor Fallout Brotherhood of Steel happened." The TLDR of Fallout Tactics is that it follows a new recruit of the Midwest sector of the Brotherhood of Steel. The game pits players against a human-machine hybrid named the Calculator. Players can choose if they want to destroy the Calculator or combine one of their companion's brains with it. But since none of these endings or events are canon, we can pretend they also did not happen. In addition to the main games, Fallout has also had a few spin-off titles. Fallout Shelter is a mobile game that lets players become the overseer of their very own vault, and all my cousins are obsessed with it and have never heard of any other Fallout games. Drives me insane. You can rescue dwellers, set up rooms and spaces for them, and you can just keep them happy. Fallout Pinball is pinball, but make it Fallout. It's actually surprisingly deep for a computer pinball game. You can level up, travel with a companion, use the classic VATS combat system, collect loot, and side with factions. Basically, everything you can do in a traditional Fallout game. It's also not canon at all, because it's pinball. And there you have it. The entire story of the Fallout franchise. Everything can change in the blink of an eye. The entire world as you know it, destroyed. At the end of the day, Fallout teaches us that throughout everything, at least we can count on one thing remaining the same.
War never changes.
Alright, now it's time for you to leave the safety of your vault and check out one of my other videos in the wasteland, that is YouTube. Yeah, I kind of fell off at the end there. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. See ya.